Today, we are going to create a tier list for Midwars heroes, and if we feel where these heroes belong within Midwars and HoN Reborn. And we're going to have some fun with it. So that is the idea that we're going for here. This list does include all heroes and New Earth heroes currently. Obviously not all of them in HoN Reborn. Eventually we'll get there. But only going to be the ones that, of course, are in HoN Reborn. So let's go ahead and kick it off. Let's start with Andromeda. Where would Andromeda be? So we got, 6 different tiers in total. S tier being the pretty much heroes that you expect to be banned. To F tier, of course, don't pick this hero. Why would you do that? I feel like Andromeda's interesting. Because she's a hero that can obviously be played as a carry or a support. Her swap is very powerful in Midwars, as we even saw in a game earlier today. Yeah, I've seen try not to get too much chat influence here, but feel free to give your opinions as well. I'll address it. That's where I was thinking that. I'm thinking in that B to C or 2 range, because as a support hero as well, she's not one that I would necessarily go for at the 100% the top of the list, but if you have another support that is more support focused with like an Astrolabe build, things like that, like an Dimension Shaman or a Pearl or an Accursed, then I think she is even extra valuable. Again, swap initiation, very powerful tool, and also as usual, good saving. So I'm gonna go B tier. I'm actually gonna go B tier for Andromeda in Midwars. Keeper of the Forest. Keeper of the Forest is okay. So initially, any jungle-esque hero, you would lean towards a lower tier for Midwars for obvious reasons. I think Keeper of the Forest is one though that can kind of get away from that I'm just a jungler, so I suck in Midwars mentality. Minions aren't really the best in Midwars with that said, so he loses some value there for sure. But his ultimate is still actually really good. His Q is not as good because of the lack of trees in the middle of the map. So we're kind of bouncing back and forth here as I'm discussing this out, right? He is just null bait. Yes and no. Because his Q is still valuable. Even though it doesn't bring the invis, it brings armor. And armor is certainly a powerful tool. And it is also usable on towers, don't forget. So, and Midwars tower is pretty important. I'm going to go C tier because of that. I think he deserves to be in that C tier range. A hero that you really wouldn't usually see. He is mainly a walking ultimate in a lot of ways, but I think his Q is actually still a potentially decent tool as well. Apex doesn't exist. War Chief, Sapphire, Golden Veil. Okay, these are all heroes that aren't in. Yeah. All right, Voodoo Jester. We got Voodoo Jester. Yeah, this is on the cusp of. I think it's safe to say pretty much A tier. I don't think there's too much. It's just a matter of would he be S tier? Probably. I don't think he deserves an S tier where he's likely going to be banned. But definitely one of these stronger supports you can get in Midwars. The cocktail, especially with people clumped up, is so much value. And of course, Cursed Ground is a very potent tool for getting kills. And the ward, and also a pretty solid, I don't think it's the longest cooldown, is it, for the Voodoo ward either. So, an ability that he could use pretty often. And he brings heal support as well with the W. A lot of people think in S tier, really. Voodoo Jester S tier. When I think S tier support heroes, I guess Voodoo Jester does have to be up there, huh? Honestly, because what I was going with, this is one I don't necessarily play myself too much, but I see what people are saying. We do see it in a lot of our games. I think maybe he does deserve S tier just because, again, now I'm sitting here thinking about it. That as far as like support heroes in Midwars, he probably is one of, if not the top. So, yeah, I'm gonna go S tier. All right, you sold me on it. Okay, fine. War Beast. Yeah. Speaking of jungle heroes, that it's hard to see some value of them in Midwars, are obviously a lot more difficult. Yeah, I do not want to see a War Beast in my game. He's not a hero that. Yes, his W, you could say, is like, oh, well, what about him giving Warcry to teammates and attack buff? No. Give me a hero that actually can do more than one thing. And his ultimate, I think, is just also too long of an ulti to be very, because without his ultimate up, he's also, as we know with Warbeast, he's really not the greatest. So, people saying that he could solo Congo early on, that's not. I'm sorry, I still don't want to see somebody picking up Warbeast for that idea. Like even if he manages to do that, I don't think that's the best value. I would just rather not see this hero. Sandwraith. Sandwraith, when it comes to carry options in Midwars, is okay. I don't think Sandwraith is as good in Midwars than he is in Force of Kaldivar, because in Force of Kaldivar, obviously, he's extra valuable because he can ulti across the map, where that's not nearly as powerful of a tool in Midwars. He's very good scaling, yes. There was the nerf to him recently that actually does make Null Stones useful against him, where he can no longer teleport to the target if they have a Null Stone. And he is a melee carry in general. Of course, melee carries definitely a little bit lower on the tier, usually mid-wars compared to others. So, yeah, I'm liking the C tier option. Again, if this was Force of Kaldivar, I'd put him probably up towards the A tier. For sure, but I think being mid-wars, I like C tier. Not a carrier looking to pick up as much in mid-wars. Behemoth. Behemoth is probably S tier. He has obviously one of the most powerful tools in mid-wars in his block with Fissure. Staff of the Master on this hero is also fucking broken. Rogix, are you still here, by the way? Hey, Rogix. I know you're still here. Staff of the Master is really good on this hero. Yeah. So until Staff of the Master gets nerfed on this hero, it's hard to argue against him being an S tier hero. He's a hero I expect to see banned in most cases, and when he's not, he's going to be picked up for sure. So, Accursed. I really love Accursed. Anyone that knows me and my mid-wars as of late, he's probably actually my most played mid-wars hero in the ranked mid-wars phase here. So, speaking of support options, I think he's a very, very valuable support. His heal is powerful, man. It is a very short cooldown. It's what is it, like 6-7 seconds, something like that. Yeah, 6-second cooldown on his Cauterize, and it heals for 250 damage every single time you use it. So, very, very powerful tool. Obviously, the W, the shield, is also great for crowd control removal, which is very important in mid-wars. And his ultimate allows him to kind of be that frontliner and bait out abilities, bait out damage in fights. So, if you play this guy as a support especially, he is arguably S tier. Do I put him S tier, though? I don't know if I put him S tier. He does get banned a fair amount. Yeah, I don't know about S tier. He doesn't scream S tier to me, despite how powerful he is. But A tier, absolutely. I'm gonna stick him on A tier for now. Samwraith and Keeper being in the same tier. Keeper should be go down to D. No way he's 2 tiers ahead of Warbeast. He is, though. I'm sorry. Is this the first really controversial one? People really want me to put him S tier. I don't know, though. What I'm worried about here with this S tier is I already got 3 heroes of 7 heroes in S tier. That feels a little over the top to me. And so maybe I'm letting that bother me a little too much, but... All right, fine. We'll put him S tier. I see why people are saying that. I'm not against that, but we'll see as this list goes on. Zephyr. Zephyr's not a core option you usually want to go for in mid-wars. He's only potentially good in Force of Kaldivar if you can like adjust to the jungle and kind of bounce back and forth with the lane, push out lanes. His ultimate, on paper, his ultimate should be pretty good. Gust is decent. It's like abilities are solid. But he's not going to be that frontline hero that you're usually going to go for. And again, he does suffer from being more of a melee carry as well. So the evasion's nice. Ult is really good. I mean, yeah, you get a Staff of the Master on Zephyr in Midwars. I absolutely could see, him rising the ranks. And of course, but he is also a hero too that relies on having a supporting cast around him. If that's the case, like he needs at least that Accursed, that Voodoo Jester, Demented Shaman. He definitely needs a strong heal support as well to truly be powerful. So I would go with the C tier. I like the C tier for him. Can you get Staff of the Master or not? Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Nomad. Nomad's an interesting one because he is a melee carry. But I think it's worth saying that he's probably higher of on the tier list than a melee carry of usual melee carries in Midwars. The quick damage, the spiky damage. Spiky damage. The spiky damage that he could do is of course powerful in Midwars, trying to catch them before they get healed up by their teammates. Sandstorm is good. Sandstorm is a solid ability for movement on the map and for disguising himself, and of course his image that he creates. There's a lot of rev wards usually in Midwars, especially at the higher tier up you go, of course, but even with that, it's still a good tool to use. Send the illusion out, get some last hits, get some damage in, poke damage in. So his ultimate is also a very short cooldown compared to a lot of other ultimates, and for what it does. So I considering he's a melee carry, I like him quite a bit. He's 100% S tier with no, he's not S tier. I like B tier. I like B tier. Definitely think he falls under that. I definitely don't want to put him A tier, but I think he's very worthy of at least a B tier for sure. Pick a curse basically anytime he's available. Yeah, Doomsday again. I think I'm letting the visual of already having two heroes early on there in the S tier and that we're overloading it early on, but I can get behind the idea that a curse is S tier, so. What are we at? Oh, we're still early on. Okay, Pharaoh. I like Pharaoh. I like Pharaoh a lot if we're looking for a hero that is a good initiator, is somebody that could be in the front lines and tank. He is great at that, of course. So, he also has one of the strongest spammy abilities in the game with that Tormented Soul and the constant poke damage that it'll do to multiple heroes on the other side over and over again. Very frustrating to play against. A very valuable candidate for Barbed Armor. Mummy Walls are hit and miss, though, right? Like, Mummy Walls are great, but they can also be fucking annoying as hell for his teammates, depending on your lineup with you and where it's placed and stuff. So, Tablet is obviously very good against the 0. Yeah, there's no secret there, and that's an item that can be picked up pretty quickly in Mid-Wars if you do go up against him. So that does downgrade him a little bit, but as far as, again, just a tanky frontline initiator that doesn't require an item to do so, he is very high up on the list on. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sitting here internally thinking, like, do I want to put him A tier because of that, or do I sit on the B tier? It's either A or B for me. I'm gonna go B tier because he's still not a hero that I expect to see where it's like in most games. He still is definitely not a niche hero, but he's not necessarily going to be picked up. And because he does have an easy counterable item with the tablet, I think that would drop him a little bit too. So move Andrew and Pharaoh to A. You really want me to put Andrew in the A tier? Madman. What do we got with Madman? Madman's, yeah, nah, not that great. We talked about Rev Wards already. Envious heroes in general are a little, a little sketchy at best in Midwars because of how many rev wards can be picked up so frequently and in a very confined area. He does have a couple of tools that are good for, getting last hits even and poke damage with the stock as well as the barrel roll. I would not be excited to see Madman as my carry though, melee carry in my games most of the time. So very reliant on teammate support. I mean, a lot of carries are, to be fair, but he definitely relies on having a couple of hard stunners on his team to keep people in place, of course, as well. So, yeah, I'm leaning towards C. Honestly, C or D for me. I almost want to put him D tier because I'm like looking at the C tier and would I prefer to have him over some of these other ones? I don't even know if I would that, but we'll put him C. We'll put him C tier. Yeah. I would rather have a Zephyr, probably, yeah. Madman Staff of the Master. Yeah, I mean, is it though? I don't know. There's so many other staffs. Like, I would rather have Zephyr Staff than a Madman Staff, for example. Yeah. Yeah, I'm convinced. I'm going to put him D tier. I'm going to go. We need to fill up that D tier a little bit, too. I'm going to put him D tier. I don't. Madman just doesn't seem like a hero that you'd want in most games. Demented Shaman. Demented Shaman. This is a hero I probably... Okay, so one, it's a hero that I definitely play a lot throughout HoN's history. I feel pretty comfortable with. So there's like a little bit of bias there, I guess. But again, a hero that brings a lot of heal support. If a Cursed is banned, he's immediately a hero that I think about as far as another option. His Storm is very good as well. It's likely going to hit most, if not all, heroes always, because of how clumped up everyone is. And his Cape is, of course, a great saving tool if somebody is in danger. So, yeah, I'm going to go A tier. That's where my head was at. I see people already typing it. I think he's going to be our first A tier at this point. Faux show. He's probably the strongest hero in the game that doesn't actually get banned really at all. Yeah, honestly, I kind of agree with that. And the thing with Demented Shaman, too, he's a hero that can transition, similar to Andromeda, that can transition into a bit of a right-click carry if you feel like your game needs that, right? Like, he can definitely go Shield Breaker, Demonic Breastplate, and pump out some serious damage, so. It's interesting that he values VJ so high. Honestly, I was going to put VJ as an A tier as well. But the chat kind of convinced me that he belongs in S tier. And again, I like I said, I could get behind it because his whole kit, Voodoo Jester's whole kit is top of the line. It really is. It's top of the line, especially for Midwars. His Q and his ultimate are very good for clumped up fights, which happens a ton. His W is a fantastic defensive tool as well for healing up over time. We're in between fights. And then his Cursed Ground, of course, goes without saying on what it can do. So, yeah, I'm fine with having Voodoo Jester S tier in the end. But anyways, Scout. All right, we're going to go to Defiler now. Defiler's an interesting one. Because Defiler has one of the strongest ultimates in the game. But it is a very long cooldown. What is the cooldown? 100 seconds. 130 seconds early on, down to 100 seconds. It's actually not as long as I thought it was. But so we're looking at basically 2-minute cooldown between uses of the ultimate. Of course, when the ultimate's up, very, very powerful tool. Similar to like a War Beast, it's like, yeah, you need to respect that ultimate. But unlike War Beast, Defiler still brings a lot to the table, even when she doesn't have her ultimate up. All three of her other abilities are very good. A huge AoE silence is not necessarily equivalent to a huge stun, but it's on par, especially against certain heroes. So, super lineup dependent. Yeah, I tend to agree on that. That mixed with the longer ultimate cooldown, I have trouble putting Defiler S tier, but I do think an A tier is worthy. And especially in a mode where tower damage is extra important. Obviously, her ultimate is one of the strongest tower damaging abilities in the game. So, yeah. Definitely can get behind that. Twice as many kills. She's the only character that wins games. Even, yeah. That's fair. Yeah, I didn't want to. I took out those tiers, Ados. I just feel like that's at a point where it's like you're just extending for the sake of extending. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me for what I want to do here, at least. Yeah, so we'll put Defiler A tier. All right, so we're getting some nice spread here. What do we got? Rampage. So Ados was talking about this earlier. Rampage is not a hero I would initially think as like a hero that I would want to see in my game, but honestly, the more I've thought about it, when it comes to an initiation tool, we talked about like Pharaoh, for example, a very powerful one. He does have a strong initiation tool, right? With the Stampede, or more so the Charge, whatever. But unlike Pharaoh, I feel like that's where it's a little bit of an issue, because he Stampedes in, but then sure, he can grab that one target, but he doesn't have a whole lot to prevent other things from happening to him. Where Pharaoh, the Mummy Wall and the Hellfire Stun is obviously good for that. And the poke damage good, but again, so I'm kind of comparing them because they are similar in that sense, and I think it's worthy. But single target wise, hey, you have a Flint Beastwood on the other team, or you have that one range carrier that's doing work in the back. Good for that, right? Like that's where it seems like Rampage could be pretty powerful, actually. What is the cooldown on Rampage's ultimate? Yeah, it's a little too long for me. 100 seconds. Even at level 3 of 70 seconds. I mean, that's not bad. But getting to level 3, getting that Staff of the Master, getting the Shrunken Head, it takes some time. It takes some time. 0 with Staff? What do you mean 0 with Staff? Well, you're talking about Stampede. I was talking about the ultimate, the Chains That Bind. Yeah, again, you get Staff of the Master on the hero. The fuck is... What the hell is that? Hold on. The fuck just happened there? I think I clicked on a random link when I was tabbing between, and I had a freaking pop-up come up. All right, good. We're back in. Good. Boom. All right, so what was I saying? So yeah, Rampage. I'm leaning towards C or D tier. It's like you need the staff. I'll do C tier. Okay, you're convincing me, Ados, that C tier is at least because he's maybe better than I'm giving him credit for. Yeah, I'll put him in C tier. All right, Devo. I don't think there's too much to say about that. Hook is probably the strongest ability in Midwars, bringing people to you to get quick kills. There's not much to say there. Tempest. Tempest is another fascinating one. Because similar to Keeper of the Forest. Now, I think he's definitely better than Keeper of the Forest. In terms of other tools that he provides when his ultimate's not ready. But we talk about ultimates and the cooldowns. Yeah, very long cooldown. In fact, what is Keeper's? Keeper's 120 seconds to 2 minutes, but yeah, 180 seconds for Tempest, down to 140, but it's a long cooldown. That's a long fucking cooldown. So, but he does have a stun. His Meteor is actually pretty good as well for just constant damage over time, and again, more clumped up, so I think he gets some pretty good value there. It's F tier. Wow, you do not like Tempest at all, do you? That's interesting. I don't, yeah, I wouldn't, I'm going to lean toward, okay, so I will say this, like, Am I happy to have a Tempest in my game? No, not necessarily. But he does provide those feel-good moments, and obviously, you know, the big ultimates definitely can win you the game in a lot of ways. But, yeah, I'll go C tier. You know what? I'll stick to C tier with him. I was going to make an argument for making a B tier because of his value being better than Keeper, to have Keeper in the C tier, but I'm fine putting them in a similar spot because they're similar ideas. Ultimate focused heroes. So, Blacksmith. All right, we know I like to put my Blacksmith. So, C tier is my weird tier. I don't think it is. All right, fine. You know what? You convinced me. There we go. I moved things around. I'll put Keeper D tier. Fine. Blacksmith. Blacksmith, very good stun. Amplifies damage for his team. Multicast, random as always. Frenzy, a really good late game scaling tool for teammates for your ranged melee carries on your team. I like Blacksmith. Again, I like to build him personally as more of a tank. But depending on the lineup, like you could also get the Spell Shards, the Grimoire, the what's that? I don't think the extended range abilities, whatever it's called. Point is, yeah, just solid stun heavy hero that brings great crowd control and can bring some beefiness to the table. So, do I put him B or A is the question. Is he on par? I am leaning towards A. I am. Because, again, when we're talking about, like, these melee frontline heroes, I think he's definitely one of the better options for sure in Midwars. Multicast, though, man. Multicast. Stun is short range. Stun is a little bit shorter than you would like, but it's also not bad. Zero damage output. Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's a walking stun. Again, that's what I'm saying. He's going to be like a walking stun. Okay, sure. I'll go B tier. I'll go B tier. I'm fine with that in the end. Slither. Yeah, Slither's annoying as fuck, as usual. Ultimate, very, very good. What is the cooldown on the Slither ultimate? Yeah, 110 seconds, even lower than 2 minutes, so down to 80. I think Slither, yeah, that's where my head was going to. It's not the S tier, but I think A tier is a good place for him. Just a hero that, speaking of Staff of the Master, especially get it on him. Anytime that ultimate's ready to go, that's going to really be annoying in fights and difficult to live through. So even with heals, it may not matter. So, yeah. I like A tier for him. Not much else to say on that. Ophelia. Yeah. This is another jungler that kind of just unfortunately gets affected by the fact that it's Midwars and it's not really a jungle-friendly map. Yes, in theory, her amplified damage could be fun. Yes, you can send people back to base, but that's not even really as good anymore now that with the TP change where it's only 15-second cooldown. Yes, she has a global AoE heal, but that's also a long cooldown. So it's like, it's a lot of these things on paper. It's like, okay, maybe there's still something there. No, I mean, come on. Let's not kid ourselves. Let's not kid ourselves. Ophelia is not a hero you want to see in your game. I have picked it a couple times before. It's a fun meme hero to pick, but not one to pick up in Midwars. Magebane. We just played Magebane, actually. And yeah, I honestly, and I think more so than others. I mean, because I agree. I think strength Magebane, and especially his E ability, is honestly pretty good. It is pretty good for a game mode like Midwars. Of course, he has the mobility with Blink. Mana Burn's always going to be a solid ability itself. And he does bring some decent AoE ultimate presence when it comes to pairing up with something else or even just going for sniping a kill, especially on the back line, especially on a supporting hero. Yeah, I definitely... Now, but this is really interesting because with that said, I don't think most people build Magebane that way, even after like even knowing he's strength and in with that mentality. I still feel like people want to build him as like a right click, just sit back, like carry, farm carry. And when they do that, that's where the hero's not as good in Mid Wars, in my opinion. But if you build him like I built in that game where you just watch, you know, this more tanky, you know, you get the bracers, you get the Mystic Vespa, you're just using that harassment of jumping in, and that's where he can be really good. I think B tier is a fine place for him with that said. Doesn't have any kind of crowd control, of course, but I mean, technically as a slow, but yeah. You want him A tier, Ados? Better. I mean, just because there's the same tier. So to be very clear, just because they're on the same tier doesn't mean they're all equal in that tier. It's just like you could say, okay, so if I do this, like whoever's on the left is higher in the tier. I mean, sure, if you want to look at it that way, but yeah, I would say he's probably the strongest B tier hero right now that I have. But yeah, I hesitate to put him A tier though because he's not a hero that I just feel like that there's definitely more heroes that I would like to see instead of Magebane that would fit under the A tier. And again, it doesn't bring crowd control, which I think is a big negative that stands out. Jeraziah is another interesting one for me because honestly, for a while, I really liked the idea of Jeraziah in Mid Wars, but especially after playing Accursed more and more, it kind of makes me realize Jeraziah is not nearly as good. Now, again, that's not necessarily fair. Now, as we see here, Accursed we have as an S tier here, and I think for good reason, as we've established. So I don't think that should bump Jeraziah down too much, but he's not as good as maybe like on paper it seems like he should be. His cooldowns of his abilities are too long. His heal and his shield are way too long in comparison to somebody like an Accursed. What is it, in fact? Yeah, 24 seconds on W, 12 seconds on the Q. You could half the cooldown for Accursed on his Q, and only up to 9-second cooldown on his W. That's insane. Like he could basically get 3 shields out in the time that Jeraziah gets 1 protective charm out. Like, yes, charm itself makes you immune, and of course does have other benefits, stronger benefits. But yeah, again, it's just not as potent, as powerful. The ultimate, of course, can be fight changing with the Soul's Blessing, but it's yes and no. It's good, but even the ultimate's not necessarily gonna prevent deaths from happening a lot of the time. So Staff Jera with Resto. Staff is interesting. You mentioned that because doesn't that give charm to everyone as well? Yeah, and it affects buildings. Yeah. Yeah, staff on Jeraziah definitely a fun ability, and if you're in that mid to later game in Mid Wars, I think that is an item that's worth considering on him for sure because of that. So A or B tier, that's where it's tough though, because it's like if you're up against a heavy magic damage lineup, I think he becomes more A tier. If you're up against a heavier physical damage lineup, then I think B tier is warranted. Especially heroes that are going to buy the Nullfire Blades, which a lot of these agility carries do. Yeah. I think most of the times I would regard him more of a B tier hero than A tier. But exactly, that it's kind of matchup based though. It is. Electrician. Electrician is a hero I never see in Mid Wars, very rarely, at least from my experience in HoN Reborn right now. But again, on paper, honestly, his ability is pretty good. Static Grip, it's a great single target crowd control. He's very tanky. He could build extra tanky. He's going to provide mana for the team with getting Ring of Sorcery mana boots usually. And his Purge is solid. It's definitely kind of, and I talked about earlier, like a matchup against like Jeraziah, for example. Purge is a very good ability. Even if you're not purging anything off, even the slow that it brings could be powerful. So yeah, it's again, on paper, it's like Electrician does have a lot of tools that are, all of his tools are very solid. But he does require to kind of be, in the front and in your face to be ultimately useful. And if you're not necessarily able to get the best farm earlier on, then that could cause issues for the hero. He can't get as tanky as he would like to be. So yeah, his Q is too weak, and that's what I'm saying. Like, his Q's, again, on paper, pretty good ability, but you are right. When there's so many heroes around that are there to support and ready to go, he's not going to be able to channel a full Q. That's just not going to happen. So yeah, his stun is not as good as it should be. So that definitely takes him down a notch as well. We'll go with B tier. I like that. Torturer. What are we at, man? We got a lot of heroes still to go through. Whew. Yeah, this is going to take a little bit. Torturer is, good. Yeah, of course, everything screams that this hero should be pretty damn good at Midwars, right? Has it all, honestly. Has a very good AoE stun. Has a lot of damage around him, so when fights are happening, and even if they get up front in his face, he's able to deal out good damage. He has technically 2 crowd control abilities because they pull in with his E. And he's very good against towers with his W. So yeah, I'm sitting here having trouble figuring out why he should not be an ST hero, honestly. I don't think there's a good. It's just another case of, like, you think of all of his abilities. He's a hero that screams very good at Midwars. I have no problem putting him S tier. I don't see. It's kind of funny though, because I don't know if he actually gets banned a ton. Out of these other 4 heroes, I don't know if he's banned as much, but still. Puppet Master. You have too few bans, yeah. Puppet Master. A hero that has insane burst, especially with his ultimate up. But you think of what a couple things that he's relying on, where that burst comes from. One is the ultimate cooldown, which is 120 seconds, a 2-minute cooldown. It's quite a bit for a single target. 2 is Assassin Shroud. Is usually an item that you want to build on this hero for that spiky upfront gank kill damage. Again, not a tool you usually like to build in Midwars. Not an item you usually like to go for in Midwars. He does have okay. He has really good crowd control with his show and his hold. But when it comes to other ranged carries, it does, again, he's definitely not as high on the list as some of these other ranged carries. Because I go back to he's a little too reliant on that explosive damage rather than consistent damage, right? Even Whiplash, it's proc based, or it's every several auto attack based. So you're doing a good job. I have to be social now. I appreciate it. Thanks, Ados. Yeah. So with that all said, I think B tier is a good spot, and B tier is going to get pretty loaded up here, from what I'm seeing. Glacius, a good support option. I think where Glacius falls compared to other support options, he's not necessarily a support that has the heal support, right? He does bring good crowd control with both the slow and the ice imprisonment. But he doesn't have that heal support. So usually you would want to lean towards more of these heal support in Midwars that bring kind of an AoE heals presence. Voodoo Jester, Demented as we already have there. Pearl comes to mind, etc. So takes him down a bit in Midwars. His ultimate needing to be channeled is also another thing that's like, okay, yes, it can be really good, but are you going to truly be able to channel his ultimate in these fights and get the value out of it? It's not necessarily guaranteed, so yeah. B tier, no one to over-explain it from there. What are the requirements for the content creator tag in HoN Discord? Goose dropping a lot right now. It's come from a place of if we just happen to notice that you're putting in a lot of content, like especially in the promote channel, and just come across you creating content, and then it's something that may be applied. I will say, we are looking to get a little more definition to what that tag means and what it is and what one may get out of it and how we may work with one another in the future, etc., which isn't necessarily in place right now. So don't feel like you're really missing out on much if you don't have it yet. There frankly isn't a lot of value in it right now, is the truth. Turret placement was really base, though. I mean, am I wrong? I don't know. It's just, again, I don't play Torture at all in Midwars, but literally all his abilities are very good for Midwars, so it's, why not? Yeah. Let's go with Arachna. Arachna's a very good counter pick to heroes like Predator, as I mentioned earlier. Just the slow auto attacks, very annoying to play against. The ultimate good. The ultimate's a pretty short cooldown too, yeah? Yeah, it's only 70 seconds, goes down to 50 and then 30. It's crazy. So, an ability that she can use pretty frequently throughout these constant fights. And her Hardened Carapace makes her a difficult ranged carry to really jump and kill. And yeah, her aura, like, these are all really good things. So, I'm leaning towards A tier. I think I kind of convinced me. Honestly, I was thinking B tier initially, but as I was talking it out, A tier seems very reasonable to me. I don't think she necessarily needs to be just a counter pick. She's, even if they don't have that obvious melee carry that she's really good against, still is a good hero. Tor S tier, yeah, of course. Where I can see HoN's builds. I'm kind of new to the game. HeroesNetwork.com. You go there. There's a learn section. There's a guide section that you can kind of go through those guides and see how people are doing things there. So those would be my recommendations. What do we got next? Hellbringer. Again, in Midwars, all of his abilities seem pretty good. Does suffer from the longer ultimate cooldown that some of these other heroes do, which for him it's upwards of 3 minutes, right? 160 seconds down to 120 seconds at level 3. But does have crowd control, albeit not as easy to land as some others, but some pretty good reach with the demon, the Q ability. Some solid damage with the W, and then amplified damage with the E. But what I will say, in comparison to some of these other heroes, like, Hellbringer's not dishing out as much upfront damage. Is more of like a Slither in that sense, where it's going to be a lot of damage over time. Now, with the ultimate, of course, that damage is really amplified, and a very, very powerful initiation and counter-initiation tool. And this is a hero you'd usually expect to see Staff of the Master on as well. So, double Malphus in play. What to do if I can't connect to the game without VPN? Unfortunately, there's not much answer I have for you at this time, Squadron. You can report it in the Discord, but depending on your location, that is a known issue that is out of our control in terms of ISPs and connections, etc. Again, I'm not necessarily very overly technical myself, but that's what I've been told and informed by our team that does work on the tech side. So, it can be game changing. Yeah, I don't know. Again, this is another tough one for me. It's like I kind of want to put him B tier because the ultimate is a little longer and he doesn't necessarily have the greatest burst damage, but it's all pretty good. Would I mind seeing him on my team? Definitely not. But I guess that is kind of the other thing too, is like, what's role is he filling? He's not necessarily a support. I guess he's more just your magic damage, which is fair. Again, similar to a Slither there. I'll put him A. I'll put him A tier. I'm fine with that. Alright, what do we got now? Legionnaire. Again, a jungle hero on paper. A jungle hero in Force of Caldivar. A hero that relies on jungling. But he does have stuff that can kind of make him okay, but very item dependent, right? He needs the blink. He needs blade mail. Like, he needs these things to be able to actually do things in fights. And that's not usually a hero that you're looking to get. Yeah, PK heroes in general in Midwars are not necessarily the best. The jungle in Midwars, there is one technically, but usually you don't want to have your Legionnaire off jungling for 4 to 5 minutes, as you're saying. That's a lot can happen in that time frame. So, I'm gonna put him more in the C tier rank, kind of similar to like a Tempest, like this idea that yes, you get those items, you get the blink, even like he suddenly does start becoming pretty powerful, and can actually be beneficial for your team. But it's getting to that point that can be a little frustrating. Predator. Okay. I mean, I talked about Predator earlier, so may disagree on this one with some people, but and self-filling can be absolutely game-breaking. B tier is a great place for Hellbringer. Did I put him B? I put him A tier. The only thing that's making me put him A tier though is because like Slither. It's just like if we're gonna put Slither A tier, I feel like Hellbringer kind of belongs in that same boat as well. Not necessarily a lot of upfront big burst damage, but a lot of good damage over time and definitely a fight-changing ultimate. So Predator not S tier. No, he's definitely not S tier. What I was gonna say though is, yeah, I don't think Predator is that good in Midwars because again, he's a hero that relies quite a bit on farm to actually start being beneficial. And yes, he can scale very well, but getting that farm is not going to be easy. His one big damage ability is he needs to literally put himself in a horrible position to do damage with the leap. Yes, he has Stone Hide, but that's not even guaranteed protection in a lot of cases. There is a good amount of physical stuns that still take place. But yes, you do have to respect Stone Hide with that set. Like, it does actually give him at least that boost of having some presence and some potential there, I guess. An underfarmed Predator, exactly, and that's where this is going to be. This is where it's a little difficult for me. It's like I am leaning towards C tier. I can see the argument for people wanting to put B tier, but I just whenever I see a Predator on my team, I'm like, oh god, here we go. Let's hope that he can somehow get farm and get kills, and then yes, he will be useful, but it's gonna take time. Is he actually gonna be able to get that farm? Probably not. And then there's Spiked Bola, which is obviously very good against him in the later game too, so. Yeah, I'm going to leave him C tier. Whew! We still got quite a bit to go through, huh? What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 25, 30. Dear Lord. We're like not even halfway done. This is going to take a lot longer than I expected. No, we're having fun, though. This is fun content. I might need to take a short break there here. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to use the restroom, grab a drink real quickly. I'll be right back. And then we'll continue on. Frozen? Okay. All right. Here we go. Let's continue. Yeah, I was going to say, Pred is definitely what I know is going to be a contract, because obviously people pick him up and think he is a lot better than I personally think he is, but yeah. All right, Pyromancer. That's going to be the next one here. Pyromancer. Think of Magic, range carries, definitely higher on the list. I don't think he deserves S tier necessarily, but gonna lean towards more of that A tier range. Also one that could be, obviously as Pyromancer is, a right-click carry amongst dealing magic damage, so you have multiple ways you could build him if need be. Very fragile, but that's how the hero works. I mean, all of his abilities really good for... Yeah, what is his ultimate cooldown? I was going to say, it's not that long, is it? Yeah, 100 seconds at level 1, all the way down to a minute, though, at level 3, which is very good. And he's very good at farming early on, too. Like, this hero, if a Pyromancer's on your team in the game, good luck getting last hits. That Phoenix Wave is just going to be used over and over again in these fights, so I'm fine with him A tier. I'm going to go A tier for Pyromancer. Kronos definitely suffers from ultimate syndrome, where, again, longer ultimate cooldown, 140 seconds, over 2 minutes. Very good when it's up and ready to go, but yeah. It's too long of a cooldown. He does kind of have poke ability with his leap, of course, but the RNG of his bash, is he actually going to bash somebody when he needs to, when these fights are taking place? Yeah, he's just not a carry I would prefer to see in Midwars. I'm honestly leaning towards D tier even. It's just because, again, you think the role that he's filling for your team over some of these other kind of melee core options, I really don't want to see a Kronos on my team. I think he's just way too ultimate reliant, too RNG with the stuns. There's just a good amount of more valuable options for sure. Ulti's not good because you stun your teammates also. And yeah, that's the other part of it too. Talking about the Mummy Walls of Pharaoh, it's definitely can be more of a hindrance than a help sometimes, so. Thanks for the follows coming through. See those happen. I really do appreciate it. Any ETA on matchmaking? What do you mean? Pestilence. What do we got with Pestilence? I just played a Pestilence game earlier. I really like Pestilence. Yes, he does have RNG with his E, but he has a very reliable stun with his W, which is actually a very good radius on it. I think it's a lot bigger than I think people even realize around him. So, great initiation. Doesn't need a portal key anymore because of how his flight works now. I think he is one of the strongest initiators in the game in Midwars, right? Like, he's usually going to be a bit bulkier as well, and especially if you build it more of that tank, you get the Devo Gauntlet early on and some Bracer. I think, the constant flight cooldown is actually very short. It's a lot shorter than I realized when I played him last. And the applying the ultimate over and over again, and especially if you get staff on him, then you're amplifying a ton of damage for you and your team. Yeah, I like A tier. Definitely don't think he's like the band in a lot of these games, but I think I'm convincing myself for sure that he's an A tier pick in these Midwars games. We can't queue at the moment? What do you can't queue at the moment? Oh, look at that. You can't queue at the moment. Yeah, I notified who needs to be notified, so do what we can. Just redeployed a second ago. Oh, so it should be good now. All right, so matchmaking should be good now. I'm being told they did like a quick fix on it. It seems to be good now, so yeah. Feel free to queue up. All right, sorry about the disruption there. Obviously, that's important, though. I want to make sure the game's working. Where are we at? We're at Malikan. I don't know. Malikan's interesting. Has mobility with the sword. Has a little bit of sustain with, of course, his heal ability. His ultimate is pretty good. What did I want to do? Oh, yeah. His ultimate's pretty good. What are we looking on the cooldown there? 100 down to 60 seconds, and it lasts for 30 seconds. So, again, this is just like one of those, like, I don't see Malik in a lot of my game at all, but in theory, on paper, I wouldn't mind seeing him. If he has somebody like, if he has a good heal support like it occurs to Jerizaiah, Demented, one of these on the board, and the heroes that can keep things in place with some solid stuns, I think Malikan is a legit option. I don't think he's a bad option by any means. The question is, how legit? Definitely not A tier, of course, not S or A. I'm leaning towards B or C when I'm kind of comparing him, looking at some of these other heroes. And if I'd rather have them over the, yeah, I'm going to put him as a high C tier. I'm going to put him as a high C tier for carry option on your team. C tier feels the same as Pred. I kind of disagree on that. Because he brings range to the table, and his Q is actually a very good damage ability without having to put himself in poor position. Unlike Predator, where he needs to actually put himself in a very poor position to do damage earlier on in the game. So I would rather have a Malikan over Predator for sure. All right, cool. Lion, Witch Slayer. Witch Slayer not as good in Midwars compared to Forest of Caldivar. 2-minute cooldown on his ultimate in comparison, but it's still a good option. Does have very good crowd control, of course. Mana drain's not going to be that great usually in Midwars, but I think I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to put him at B tier. I wouldn't mind seeing support Witch Slayer, but he's also like, again, he's not like that heal support. You get him to disable. If you're lacking stuns, he's a good option for that for sure. But he's not usually a support that you'd want to see in Midwars in comparison to some others. Forsaken Archer. My internal debate I'm having immediately is whether or not to put her S tier or keep her at the A tier. Because, again, it's just one of these cases as, like, yes, she is one of the strongest ranged carries in Midwars, but there's a couple others that come to mind where I'm like, okay, I would probably rather have those than her. She does bring a very good crowd control, though, with the Q. Her ultimate's excellent. What is the cooldown? 100 seconds, so it is less than 2 minutes. And she skills very, very well. God, that feels like S tier. That really does. A tier. Again, that's where my head was at initially, but I don't know. Like I'm thinking of all the abilities and where is the weak spot with this hero? There is a little, I guess, so kind of a weak spot is there's a little bit of RNG when it comes to her skeletons, but they proc quite a bit. Let's be honest. I'm gonna put her S tier. I can't sit here and convince myself that like anything about that is. There's nothing about her that screams like, oh yeah, there's a little bit of a weak spot here. I don't know. It's just good across the board, and yeah. Engineer. All right, we're starting to get into this S tier might start filling up a bit. Engineer is, yeah, he is a hero that does get banned quite a bit. I will say it does need a bit of ramp up, a bit of build up before he's truly that very annoying scaling. So maybe that's where he's a little weaker than others, like a Forsaken, like an MOA, even like a Flint, who has a really good flare, flare ability to constantly poking good damage early on and for fights. Yes, Keg is solid, but it is a skill shot. It's not the easiest to land sometimes, and the turret's not really useful until that mid game. But yeah, there's no question. Once that mid game hits, once he has a Thunderclaw, Nullfire, etc. This is one of the most scary carries to play against. S tier. Do I put him S tier? I think I have to. I have to. Excuse me. All right, Deadwood. Deadwood's a PK hero. I think there's just no getting around that. Grasp is solid. He can throw logs at people, and yes, when you get out front, and honestly, his ultimate Willowmaker is good against these strengthier cores, these bigger, bulkier cores in the front lines. So there's that argument. Like, so maybe a little bit dependent on who you're fighting up against. Like, if you are fighting up like against a Predator, for example, then Deadwood could be some extra value there. But it does require PK, and as most cases, as we've been established, like if you require a PK, then that that tanks you quite a bit. So I'm gonna put him C tier and move on from there. Make him have to pick up actual trees again. That was pretty, but I mean, I get why that change was made. It was just a good quality of life change for the hero. You'll take a scout over Deadwood. I don't know about that. Chipper. I like Chipper. Chipper, one of the best poke abilities in the game with the rockets, of course. His TAR's okay crowd control. His buffer, though, I think is one of the more underrated abilities. It's kind of funny how you play this hero in comparison to Force of Kaldivar, where yeah, you're likely going to go QW and Force of Kaldivar, but again, depending on your lineup, maxing out his E is actually it's not a horrible idea for early on in the game. Going in and maxing out rockets after. Because that's a lot of damage absorption against heroes like, say like a Thunderbreaker's on the other side, or, whatever, good amount of magic damage. You're reducing quite a bit just from that ability. So, yeah, very good tool there. Allows him to be a little diverse. His ultimate, a very short cooldown. It's honestly not the greatest ultimate. I will say it's not. I think it does get. It is kind of an ultimate where it's like it goes down. You like feel like, oh yeah, that's gonna do so much damage, and then it doesn't really do a ton of damage. You know what I'm saying? Of course, if he eventually gets staff and stuff, then yes, it will. But early on, it's not gonna do a lot of damage. So somewhat lineup dependent in that sense of having a teammates that can keep people in place. I don't know if he's S tier. I see people saying S tier. I'm gonna go A. I'm gonna go A with Chipper. I think because he's a little bit matchup dependent and teammates surrounding him as well. But yeah, his E is really good. Bubbles. Where do we want Bubbles? Very annoying. Take cover. A good Bubbles player is one of those cases. You get a player that's comfortable on this hero, it definitely bumps it up the tier list, and I think you could almost argue an S tier is definitely there. Is he played by a good player a lot of the time? Not necessarily. So maybe that's where the fall off may happen. But yeah, I mean, AoE silence is very good. Kelp Field's going to be fantastic, of course, for keeping people in place, do more damage too. And great creep wave, Soul Surf, so. And then has that defensive mechanic with take cover. I'm going to put him A tier. Yeah, just good, just poke damage mixed with some burst. And can be kind of built into that magic carry for your team. A lot of mobility. I think A tier is a good spot. I think a big thing just keeping him from S tier though is that you have to find a comfortable player that plays bubbles a lot, plays them well. Then that would bump him up to S tier, but maybe not going to happen as much as you would think. Fade suffers from Invis syndrome in Midwars. Yeah, not as much than other heroes because the ultimate's obviously the only part of that. Her other ability, the stock, whatever it's called. What the fuck's Fade? Am I blind? Oh, it's intelligence, duh. Burning Shadow. No, not Burning Shadow. Shadow Walk. Shadow Walk ability. Obviously, not necessarily invis. Yeah, good combo with the QW. Could be a lot of good poke damage early on. Potentially decent against, you know, the backline heroes like the Flint, like a Pyromancer sitting back there. You know, being able to jump them and get some quick kills on them. So, the quick kill burst damage mixed with some solid team fight presence of a good stun and the AoE Cole ability, I think actually does give her some pretty good potential, some good argument here to be higher on the list. But now, again, though, it's like, what role is she filling, right? She's not going to be your melee carry. She's not really going to be your heavy magic damage nuker. She's going to be, again, just say a quick kill hero, which is fine, but to get these quick kills is reliant on either getting a portal key or being able to stealth in and get around Rev Wars, which are going to be somewhat frequent in these fights. So, because of that, I think it's hard to put her on S tier, let alone even A tier. I almost want to put her B tier. She melts so fast in fights. Yeah, her survivability is not the greatest. It's okay. And again, her E is okay with the Shadow Walk, but I'm going to put her B tier. I think B tier is a good spot. A tier, S tier for fun. D tier, she melts fast. Like, yeah, there's definitely a bit of spread there. All right, what do we got next? Valkyrie. Valkyrie is an interesting one because the amount of Valkyrie players that you see pick Valkyrie in Midwars and just sit back in the jungle launching arrow after arrow. It's like, come on, what the fuck are you doing? Oh, hey, I got staff now. It's going to do even more damage. And yeah, there's meme kills that happens and it can be funny, but don't do that, please, in your games. If you build this hero as more of a carry, honestly, a right-click carry, in my opinion, pretty damn good. Valkyrie Prism is solid. It's not great, again, especially in Midwars because of all the sight usually that it's there with the Rev Wards. But, yes, Arrow can be good if it hits. Call the Valkyrie some solid sustained damage, and she has great mobility with the leap, of course. So, a decent ranged carry option. She's not going to be one that you want to pick over Forsaken, Engineer, Flint, etc., but I don't mind seeing her as a carry option in these games. Pink tier Valks. Normal Valk is solid B, low A tier. But yeah, so with all that said, I'm fine putting her A tier, honestly. You know, up there with like the Arachna of just a ranged carry that I don't mind seeing him in the game and think can definitely scale pretty well and even carry the game if you need her to, so. God, I'm getting fucking cold, man. It is cold down here. Brrr. All right. Where are we at? Balfagor is not in HoN. Gauntlet. Not much to say on that one. Similar to Devo. The fact that it could also go through creeps. In my opinion, Gauntlet's more annoying to play against a Devo. I honestly don't know why Devo's banned more than Gauntlet. I actually would prefer to play against Devo rather than Gauntlet if I had to choose. I hate dealing with the Gauntlet hook. But yeah, very, very, very good hero in Midwars. Hammerstorm. Hammerstorm, okay. Doesn't necessarily have the mobility of some of these other melee cores. Of course, has the what's it called? Galvanize. Galvanize. Has Galvanize to increase speed a little bit, increase some armor, give him some chunkiness, but he needs a lot of farm, and potentially even a candidate for needing a PK. But even if you want to build him like for that right-click carry or even like a tanky build, it needs some time, and it's hard to get there. His ultimate's not going to be too useful until late game if you happen to get there and you've gotten some good farm. Yes, his stun is solid, but it's really that's it. I don't see a great place for Hammerstorm amongst melee carries in Midwars. It's tough. There is part of me that wants to put him C tier just because he has a solid stun and Galvanize is like a decent team ability with the armor. But even with those, like there really is just other better candidates. He's not going to be a good hero for Midwars. So Nighthound, yeah, Nighthound. I will say this. I would rather have a Nighthound than a Scout for sure. The Smoke Cloud actually can be pretty good. But he is an Invis hero, heavily relies on Invis. Not easy when you're up against Midwars. So I'm not going to put him F tier. I will put him D tier. I think Smoke Cloud has some value. He has mobility with the pounce. He can get away if he gets caught in a bad spot. So yeah. Next hammer, yeah. What do we got next? Swiftblade. Swiftblade? Yeah, it is pretty similar, isn't it, to like the Hammerstorm issue that I was just talking about. It's like, yeah, spin is okay, but it's also not the ultimate answer. We've already established that, you know, the things like Stone Behind a Predator is not like the ultimate answer because there is still plenty of physical slow and stun in the game, especially on some of these higher tier heroes like an Arachna, for example. So Swiftblade is not going to be a carry that you like to see a lot of the time in your games. Yeah, I don't want to overthink it. I'm just going to put him on that D tier. All right, we're getting through the list. Let's keep it up. This is fun, though. I'm glad we chose to do this. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Hopefully you're having a good time as well. So we're having fun creating some tier lists here. It'd be kind of cool to do some more tier lists as far, you know, the idea popped in my head as we're doing this one. Another tier list that would be fun to do is tier list of heroes we would like to see in HoN Reborn that are not in HoN yet, HoN Reborn yet. And seeing what we can come up with that. That could be maybe another fun one next stream. Anywho, Bloodseeker. Blood Hunter, sorry. Blood Hunter at least is a little more valuable than some of these other melee cores. I'm going to lean towards the C tier. Silence, and actually, I didn't realize this until recently. The silence is AoE. It took me. I kept getting silence when there was a Bloodseeker on the other team in the game, and I noticed that the silence wasn't hitting me. I'm like, how am I getting silenced? But I realized it does silence around the main target. So a 4-second silence that technically is AoE is pretty good. And then his ultimate is solid. His ultimate is a good way to try to snipe some kills in these fights, and obviously try to, you know, even get some backline heroes, good against some tankier frontline heroes too. So, yeah, a Bloodseeker or Blood Hunter, I feel like is worthy of at least the C tier. Just got back. How the fuck is Hammerstorm and Love it. Is worse than Blacksmith? Yeah. Well, let me check on something too, as you're saying that. So that's 15-second cooldown. It's 12 seconds for Blacksmith. I don't know, man. Like, okay, my argument for why I put him there. So yeah, I'll just kind of do a quick TLDR. Hammerstorm, you pick up Hammerstorm to be more of a carry in the end, right? Yes. So if you're not picking him up for that case, then I would much rather have a Blacksmith than a Hammerstorm as far as a support, more utility, tanky front core presence. Because of his other abilities too. Frenzy's always going to be a great scaling ability for a later game for his teammates, and because of the ultimate, the multicast procs can definitely bring extra value there. Hammerstorm, he needs farm. He needs farm to actually be useful eventually in the game. Yes, his Q, it's a solid stun, and Galvanize is okay too with some mitigation, but until he gets really good farm, he's not gonna. His E and his ultimate are gonna be useless. I don't see why Hammerstorm is something that you're considering to highly value. Frankly, I don't see it. I'm definitely keeping him D tier. Tundra, I never see Tundra. Now Tundra's another fascinating one to me because I don't think Tundra's bad. But Tundra is one of the most difficult heroes to play well, right? Like, even with the way his Shiver now works and it's like a little bit easier to use, whatever. Tundra is a good hero. He has great nuke damage, poke damage with his Q. The Curial is actually solid for slowing people down, and you can get some good scouting vision as well. Not that it's that important in Midwars as it is in Force of Kaldivar, but it's still a little bit of value there. And then his ultimate Avalanche is good. What is the cooldown? 80 seconds, as I thought. Not too bad there. A solid hero, but finding a player that plays him well, I think, is kind of the key to that one. I don't know, he feels like potential for B tier just because of he has a really good single target lockdown, good constant poke damage. I think B tier is warranted. It's just not a hero that you're going to see often, but seems like a B tier solid position. What's so hard about Tundra? Did it get reworked? What? Again, when I say hard, it's just more micro expectancy than other heroes. Does that make sense? More buttons to press than other heroes. Because like things like the Shiver, which will actually, speaking of that, how does it work now? Honestly, I haven't played them in a while. So, yeah, so you spawn and then, yeah, so like control, basically, so you do still manually control it. Yeah, that's what I thought. But it's just micro, so when I say harder, micro heroes. Can you do it? Probably, yeah, sure, okay. I'm pretty comfortable with microing too, but I'm talking from the masses. It's not a hero that's very comfortable for a lot of people because there is some micro expectations on the hero, so. Where did my music go?
Come in!
There we go. Had to reset it. Where are we at? Gladiator. What's up, Midco? Gladiator. Gladiator's good. Again, skill set does suggest pretty powerful. He's also interesting too because he doesn't need to be built as a carry by any means. Like, there are a lot of players that want to go the Assassin Shield, Rift Shards, build on him because it's just a meme and it's fun. But honestly, if you build him more as a tank, in my opinion, that's even more valuable. Because yeah, you get the QW combo, you still do decent damage with the Whiplash, and of course his ultimate is another one of those fight-changing ultimates that can certainly be used. And yeah, very short cooldown, especially for what it does. I'm on the verge. I was thinking B tier, but I almost convinced myself that he's A tier. He's honestly, I think if he's played correctly and not for the one-shot kill build and instead more of this utility initiator for the team, I think he is A tier. If he's built more of the Assassin Shard, Rift Shard, I want to carry in one-shot things, then yeah, B tier is probably more relevant for him. We'll say that. I'll put him A tier though. Dr. Repulsor. Doctor, I think. Doctor suffers from overextension. How to put this? Doctor, I think, suffers from feeling a little too comfortable too much of the time. Because, obviously you ulti in, ulti away, and I think people, with how many stuns are potentially there immediately to take, because, again, unlike Force of Kaldivar, the chances that 4 or 5 heroes are right there in a spot that you're zooming into is a lot less likely. Where in Midwars, there's a good chance that's going to be the case. This is for Midwars, yes. So knowing that, mixed with the range of his abilities is not the greatest. His Poland's pretty short range. You need to kind of get close to them. I don't think this hero's that great. He's not necessarily a magic nuker I would prefer to pick up or to see on my team. Yes, he can ultimately scale and zip zap around, get the icon, etc., and take over games, but I think he just is not a hero that does too well when there's so many other heroes around with crowd control, with silences, stuns, all these things. Do I put him C tier? Would it be crazy to put him C tier? I think I am going to put him C tier. I think I'm pretty valid there with what I'm saying, right? Like, yes, don't get me wrong. A good Dr. Repulsor player and knows the limits and everything. You could bump it up to a B, even an A tier probably, but that's not going to happen most of the time. Just put Flynn in S tier already? Alright, there you go. I will say this about Flint Beastwood. I think he is very worthy of S tier and one of the strongest tiers in Midwars. I do think he's overrated, though. I think people completely overrate how good this hero is, honestly. Because like I said, I'm not playing against the best Flint Beastwood players in the world. I get that. But he is very easy to... So, yes, that is fair. He is very easy to play and dominate with in comparison to a lot of these other heroes. Like, we're talking about like Doctor and Bubbles and stuff. And, yeah, that, of course, I understand that perspective. But I don't think he's as unbeatable as sometimes he's made out to be. Either way, Wretched Hag. So similar concept of like a Bubbles, Pyromancer course. Hag brings great mobility. Does have the good ultimate with a... How long of a cooldown are we looking at there? 135, so just over 2-minute cooldown. At level 1 at least. Good poke with this Q. Yeah. Hard to find a glaring weak spot. I mean, she isn't necessarily as tanky, so yeah, definitely not going to put her S tier, but I think A tier is pretty accurate here for Wretched Hag. Kind of that ranged magic damage dealing core that usually going to be a good option. Bombardier. Bombardier, I don't know. It's... In comparison to a Pyromancer, a Hag, a Bubbles, I don't like Bombardier as much. Sticky Bomb is okay. It's technically crowd control, but it takes a long time to get to a point where it's going to actually be a decent stun. And by then, they can usually react to it right. They can position themselves in a better spot. Great poke damage. Some of the best poke damage in the game, of course, with bombardment and stuff. The ultimate always going to be, pretty useful. But, again, kind of similar to Chipper's ultimate, where it's like you expect it to do a lot more damage than it does most of the time, right? I think, does that make sense? Where like you're like, oh yeah, they're all lined up. I'm gonna ult you right on top, and then it's like they don't die. They like barely survive. You're just like, that didn't kill them. What the fuck? I don't know. Yeah, I think B tier is warranted for sure. Not a horrible option, but just a ton of just damage that happens, but doesn't usually kill people. There you go. Moraxis. All right, so fit in that role of kind of this tanky presence, initiator. As we've already established, PK, any heroes that feel like they need a PK is, of course, going to drop them quite a bit. I don't think Moraxis is on the level of needing a PK like some of these other ones, but not as good of a as like a Pharaoh, for example, in my opinion, or like even the Mage Bane. Yes, Arcane Shield can be okay because of all these abilities that are coming at you, and likely the chances of it being procced is probably pretty high. He needs to be pretty close to people to stun them, though. His ultimate's okay. It does allow him to even, if anything, be more tanky in fights, let alone do some decent damage. Hag B. You don't like Hag? Yeah. I put Hag in the low A tier. There you go. What do I want to do with Moraxis? I'm almost thinking C tier for Moraxis, honestly. Because again, it just suffers from the needing the PK, but is still more useful than other heroes without having the PK for sure. So maybe like a low B tier is actually good. I'm gonna go low B tier. I like that. I just don't like how it needs to be so close for a stun to actually be useful. Myrmidon. You'd rather have Hammerstorm than Moraxis. In some cases, that's a fair. I kind of agree, actually. Overall, though, for the role that he's playing, I would rather have a Moraxis, but. Myrmidon. Myrmidon's fun. A very good support hero. Again, doesn't really feel that I'm gonna heal support, but of course, when it comes to damage as well as crowd control, very good for that. Yeah, I'm just gonna put Myrmidon A tier in the middle there. And then the ulti form, again, a hero that actually can transition pretty well into a carry if need be. So. The more I am looking at this, you know what? I am going to do it. I'm going to move Andrew up to A tier. I know that was being brought up earlier, but now that I'm kind of reevaluating and seeing others that I have here, and yeah, it's hard to not put Andrew in that A tier as well, especially with that point just made there too. So I'll bump Andrew up to A tier. If the game started at level 11, he'd be S tier. That's fair. That's fair. Who do we got next? Empath. Empath is a little odd for me. You know, naturally she is pretty reliant on needing a teammate to actually be pretty useful and know what they're doing in that carry position to be good. So there is that part of it you certainly have to respect. The wall's okay. I don't think the wall technically fits. I don't play enough Empath to be honest, but can you actually block
At your service.
this with the wall? I don't think you can.
I feel you.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, actually,
Done.
yeah. No, you definitely cannot, so. Yeah, especially knowing that, like, yes, you can still angle it, like, really screw them up and change their pathing. Yes, it's a good tool, but you can't block it off.
Ah, what can I do for you?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards B tier for Empath. Yeah, I think earlier we're going to go B tier. Similar to kind of like a Glacius. Because, again, it's the fact that you also need that teammate you're really relying on. The heal's okay. The Q is very solid, and even the passive is actually pretty good for Midwars. Yeah. I like B tier for Empath. Luna. Luna, another one of these, I'm a support, but I can also carry if need be options. Power throw is always going to be very good in Midwars. The stun's okay. It's not fantastic, but it's okay. I just feel like, again, see, now this is that case of I would rather see several of these other support heroes as a support for me than a Luna. So because of that, I think I am going to go B tier for a Luna. Like, I would rather have a Myrmidon, an Andromeda, Demented for sure, like, and it's just, it feels kind of weird putting her on the same list if that's the case, so. Baluna. Kraken. Release the Kraken. Kraken's fun. He's great frontline option for sure. Pseudo carry of sorts as well. Is he PK dependent? Similar to Moraxis. It's not like required. It's not like you don't need it like as much as some of these other heroes, but it's good to have. Great for positioning. But of course, you can get away with having the charge. In the meantime, his ultimate is always going to be a very good tool for these fights. And armor reduction with his torrent. And an ability that he can actually poke with and spam quite a bit. So I am skipping heroes that are not Reborn. Yes, of course. Yeah, no point to do a list for those at this time. Not a Reborn yet. So yeah. So as far as Kraken, where do we want to put him? I'm leaning higher on the B tier. Maybe even low A tier. Just needing that portal key eventually maybe takes him down a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to go B tier. I'm going to go B tier. Like high B tier. There we go. Thunderbringer. Thunderbringer. Yeah, hot take, maybe. I don't know if it even is. I think the new ultimate on Thunderbringer is even better in Midwars. Like, especially with the buff that they gave him recently, where it now does 250 damage each tick rather than 200. Yeah, this hero's fucking ridiculous. TB needs to be A. Wait, you're serious? You don't think TB's an S tier hero? That's kind of crazy. I mean, Thunderbringer has literally the best poke ability in the game in Chain Lightning. Q and W are both fantastic at that, and just constant this damage bombardment that's happening. And then yeah, the Cloud Ultimate is like, anytime a relevant fight takes place, I'm gonna deal 500 to 1,000 damage to everyone on your team during that fight. Like, I mean, that feels pretty good from a safe distance, mind you. Yeah, less than a 2-minute cooldown as well. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's I would put Thunderbringer as one of the highest tier. Like, if we were actually like kind of rating these like even in their tiers, I would put him in. Honestly, probably right now, I would put him over Flint Beastwood personally. Like, I would rather play against a Flint Beastwood than a Thunderbringer. Absolutely. Now, again, that's where the tier list is like, is this a I would rather play against tier list, or is it like, so obviously there's a lot of things you're looking at here, but yeah. Anyways, Silhouette. Silhouette's not going to be that great. Silhouette really thrives in Force of Kaldavar potentially because of the wideness of the map, how big it is, using your illusion to its fullest, teleporting between the illusions, farming all over the place, farming the jungle stacks, etc. These things don't exist in Midwars. Even her tree grapple ability, it's very difficult to use it effectively because of the lack of trees in the middle. So D tier? Is that, again, this is Midwars we're talking about here. I do not want to see Silhouette in my game as a carry. I honestly think there's argument to put Silhouette in the F tier. I really do. Like, this is a hero when you think of all of her true benefits and why she can be really good. none of it really has a chance in Midwars, at least early on. So, yeah, I think D tier is very fair, and I almost want to put her F tier, but we'll leave her in D. Is mid hero, and you put her in the D tier. Wait, what? Succubus. Oh no, we're not. I wish we had Succubus. Flux. All right, so if we started at level 11, Flux would be S tier. That's what you said earlier, right? One of the worst in the game, but at level 2 it already becomes one of the best. Is it really that big of a difference? What is so different about it? So it's the range that it pulls. Yeah. 400 is not a lot. That's, yeah. I can see that. I mean, I don't know. Like, without much thought put into it, I think Flux A tier is pretty valid. He's again, he's kind of like an all-encompassing hero. He can be a carry if you need him to be. He can be a frontliner. He's a fantastic initiator. He does have one of the strongest ultimates in the game as long as there's other things to support it, which in Midwars it usually is going to be. So, yeah, I think a Flux A tier is pretty easily warranted, yeah. Exactly, and he enhances some of the better... I think that's a good way to look at it, too. He enhances some of the best mid-war heroes in the game. And if you're doing that, then yeah, it's pretty good. Martyr. So Martyr does fall under this support hero that is more of a heal support, of course. And I'm going to try to save you, but is the ultimate too long of a cooldown? First off, what is the ultimate cooldown? Only 80 seconds. Actually, not as long as I thought. Guardian Angel's going to be pretty useful, too. Doesn't have any crowd control. Does bring okay damage with Retribution. Is decent at saving. But again, when it comes to that, it's like this case of like, I would kind of rather have some other support heroes rather than a Martyr. I would rather have a Demented, a Pearl, and a Cursed, an Andro even. Has mid lane role in Reborn. Oh, does she actually have mid lane role? That's interesting. Yeah, she should be a carry for sure. Huh. Martyr can carry by not letting you kill people. Yeah, again, W's good. I just don't like how Martyr doesn't have any crowd control. Which, to be fair, neither does Demented Shaman, really. Yeah, okay, I'm probably putting Martyr A tier. As a saving support. Raw. Amun-Ra is an okay candidate for like a frontliner, of course. The ultimate resurrection allows him to be a bit more, gives him a bit more freedom to be, you know, a little more reckless with his life and cause more chaos, so that is good. Stun's solid with the Meteor Midwars. Usually builds for a lot of regen, a lot of bees coming out. That's what I was thinking, so yeah, don't overthink it. We still got plenty to get through, so we'll put him in the B tier. We'll go with that. Monkey King. Got us some Monkey King. So Monkey King's another kind of interesting one because can be pretty explosive for damage. Kind of puts himself in bad position to do the damage, but also doesn't, right? Because obviously of how fast he moves and how quickly he's dashing through you with his elusive dash and the heavily evolve going back and forth. Not necessarily very easy to catch like some other melee heroes. So I think he definitely has a positive there for sure. And yeah, can kind of, set up some quick kills on some enemies, sneak in the back lines and jump in there and go for some quick kills. I like Monkey King. What role he's filling, I think, is where is a weak spot for him in Midwars, but don't expect him to be your one carry, I guess is what I'm really getting at there. We'll do B. I like B. Yeah, B tier for Monkey King is good. Derpidon. Yeah, we're gonna put Derpidon up here. Fully agree. I've seen you bring it up a couple times that he should be S tier once we get to him. He is my number one ban hero, both in Force of Cadavar and Midwars. If Armadon's, I always go to ban Armadon every single time Midwars. It's just this mix of a kind of like Flint Beastwood, frankly, where he's very overpowered because of how simple he is to play, and there's very little there's difficult counterplay to it. Yeah. I hate playing against Armadon so much. Turn your back, spam W. It is so fucking frustrating to play against this hero. So yeah. Armadon deserving of good old S tier there. Moon Queen. Moon Queen's fun. So when it comes to carry options, she's not going to bring a lot to the bag in terms of constant poke damage. It's a good CC like a Forsaken Archer or even an Engineer or even like a Flint Beastwood. But mid to late game, she could be one of your strongest carries that you can see for sure. So I do think her beam is okay. Her ultimate is solid potential. As long as there's not creeps nearby, then yeah, it could do some decent damage. But of course, for her ultimate to be good, it does ideally put herself in not the greatest spot. So yeah. Not the easiest to use among some of these other ones that these other carries have. So yeah, for me, it's kind of that B to even high C tier for Moon Queen. I think I'm gonna go high C tier. I'm gonna go high C tier for Moon Queen. Yeah, she just is really not gonna get it. There's not gonna be a position to get a great amount of farm for her. Why is Valk above C tier? Get out of here. Valk is amazing. Again, so yeah, this is a long VOD here. I'm going to post this on my YouTube so you can check it out later as well. It'll be on Twitch or whatever. Obviously, I talk about all these heroes when I go over them, so I don't want to spend too much time revisiting over and over again, but yeah. What are we doing here? Not Gravekeeper. Magnus. Magnus, not as great in Midwars compared to Force Cadavar. Steam Bath is not nearly as useful for obvious reasons. Ultimate is probably too long of a cooldown to be considered very good. Yeah, a little over 2 minutes at level 1. Even a stun, you need levels in the stun. And so I know you start at level 3, but yeah, 400, 500, like without level 4 stun, it feels pretty weak too. And obviously another hero that kind of relies on a portal key. Just not a hero I am excited to see for. I would much rather have Kraken, Pharaoh, Electrician. When I'm looking for these front presence initiators, tankier heroes. So yeah, we'll put Magnus in the C tier. Just realized the HoN Reborn is available. It's a project you're part of, right? Yep, it is. That's awesome. I don't worry about that hometism. Right now, it doesn't necessarily do anything. We plan to have that actually do something in the future, but not just yet. But I do appreciate reaching out. But yes, I do work with I work for Congress Studios, which were the creators of HoN Reborn. So happy to have you checking it out. That's awesome, man. Drunken's tear is gonna make me sad. Okay, Drunken Master, here we go. Drunken's okay. Again, the role he's trying to fill, it's similar to that Fade idea, the Monkey King, right? It's like this melee, high physical damage threat that he's gonna be able to put out in your face. Not as elusive as a Monkey King. But he could be more tanky, especially with the drink charges. And usually how you'd even build him potentially, so... I don't know, though. With that said, I'm having trouble convincing myself that he's B tier worthy. I'm thinking C tier. Because again, just this melee hero that has to kind of put himself in a bad spot to be really useful and doesn't have the... You know what? Okay, low B tier, I'm fine with that. I am. Because Stagger is good. You can use it fairly frequently. The drink charges do tank him off a bit. I'm fine with putting him B tier. And yeah, he can do some explosive damage. Pearl. Really like Pearl. I think Pearl is definitely one of the higher tier supports as well. Maybe some bias, but I don't know. Her skill set across the board screams very good to me, especially for Midwars. The bubble ultimate's fantastic. Her EO, which I personally level up, and I feel like I do see a lot of Pearl players do it, the Soothing Presence. Leveling that up first. It is a great ability, especially earlier on in Midwars. And then, yeah, you can purge both offensively and defensively, an excellent tool to have. And the fact that she can now jump into, like, yeah, she's... honestly, I think there's argument to be made that she's even S tier, but a very, very high A tier. I would even put her pretty much at the top of the list there, so... Aluna, not A tier. My main argument for Aluna came down to there's just so many of these other supports I would rather see than Aluna, because she's not necessarily your saving support. She is more of your damage support. Her Croc Control's okay. It's not great. Yeah. Power Throw's fantastic though, and she can transition into a carry, but put her B tier. Grinix, not yet. Lodestone. Lodestone Ultimate is actually not a bad cooldown. That's what I thought. It's only 90 seconds to level 1, down to 75 at level 2. I like Lodestone. When it comes to being this tanky initiator, he's certainly not bad. He does have a very... Out of these kind of initiators, he has one of the better ultimates for sure. Maybe besides like a Kraken. I'm fine putting him B tier. I'm in the middle here. Master of Arms. Just brought him in. So Master of Arms... Is he... If this was the original Master of Arms, the old Master of Arms, I think S tier is probably a candidate, but maybe A tier, being that it's the one that we put out here in Reborn. Can definitely become a very, very potent late game carry. Acid is annoying to play against and a great tool for just pushing out lanes and obviously assisting in fights. And I think he lacks a lot of great damage early on in comparison to some of these other carries, is like why I would ultimately put him in the A tier rather than S tier. But yeah, you get farm on this guy. Obviously, we know what he can do. No Fireblade, especially Shield Breaker, whatever. Pop that, get the Cheetah, give someone to give you a staff, and you're just pumping damage. Low A tier, sure, I'm fine with that. Who do we got next? Rhapsody. The ultimate is an amazing ability. Obviously, it's not guaranteed though, like some of these other tools that some of these other supports have. But very, very good when used correctly. Disco is going to be always a great tool, similar to Voodoo Jester's Mojo. It's just that constant heal. Decent stun with Staccato. Amping some damage for the team. Yeah, hard not to put her A tier, I guess. Just talking it out, yeah. Midas. Midas, very good nuker. If you're looking for somebody to bring some big nuke damage to the team, get those spell shards, take people out, good candidate for that. Decent mobility. Even has a little bit of heal support as well, if you like that. So, or if you need that. Yeah, Midas A. Not much else to say there. Berserker gonna be S tier once he's in. HoN is back. It absolutely is. Been back for a little bit. We're in open beta with HoN Reborn! !HoN. Check it out. We went open beta back in November. So, Plague Rider. So Plague's very interesting because his ultimate is very good at Midwars. Yes, if we were ranking just on like ultimates, no question, absolutely S tier. Why even bother discussing it? He's not just an ultimate though. Is his W's okay? His crowd control's it's really not that great. It's okay. He does have a nuke that's decent damage. And his I guess Extinguish is also okay for Midwars. It's not great for Midwars in comparison to Force Caldivar, but it's okay. Yeah, I think a high A is worthy. I can't find myself putting Plague Rider S tier. I love it. Ados comes back. He's like, "What have you done to my baby?" The VOD is you can rewind. You can watch the VOD. I'll post this on my YouTube. You can listen to my logic, which is probably not going to help anyways. Who do we got here? Sir Bensington. Bensington, yeah, again, melee syndrome of, like, he's got a great initiation tool. He puts himself in a horrible spot to do so, but very good with the, launching himself in, jousting in. Does have decent range as well with his spear. Can deal some decent burst damage. Nightfall is okay. His ultimate, again, is similar issue to other heroes that we talk, like, again, in comparison to Force Caldivar, it's not as good. It's just global presence is not going to be as good in Midwars as it is in Force Caldivar, but it's still good though. Made the hero with 500, 600 range, yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I think he's kind of that bursty melee core that could also be a good carry for you. You kind of put him in this spot here with the Monkey King, the Drunken Master. Sure, I'm good with that. Who do we got? Monarch is going to be next. Monarch. Speaking of saving heroes, of course, good with the egg there. Ultimate's a little underwhelming in comparison to a lot of these other supports. That's, I think, the one biggest critique of Monarch. But every other one of her abilities is really good. So, yeah, lower A tier. Good with that. Monarch is B. I mean, yeah, I could put her high B as well, but it's like, I'm already putting all these other kind of heal save supports in A. Why would I not put Monarch there too, right? It's like, what about her screams not being up there A tier with the others? Maybe, to be fair, okay, I did say her ultimate is underwhelming in comparison to pretty much all these other ones. Yeah, maybe high B is fine. Yeah, high. Okay, I'll go with that. I like that. That's fair. The fact your ultimate is underwhelming in comparison, I think a high B is good. Who's next? Gemini. Ugh. Gemini is another one of these really interesting ones because in good hands, probably bumping up this hero a tier or two even. But needs, even in good hands, you still need time for this hero to become somewhat relevant. Does have okay abilities before the later game. You know, he's got the breath. And obviously the stun in the Twin Fangs can be solid. Like he's at least doing things. It's not like he's just sitting there AFK trying to farm. So I certainly don't think he's F or D tier, but yeah, that C tier range is where I'm kind of heading towards. Similar to a Moon Queen, I guess, right? Where it's like early game, don't expect a lot from them, but hey, you happen to carry this hero into the mid to late game, they'll do their job, and they'll have the farm needed. So yeah, I like C tier for Gemini. Soul Reaper, man, Soul Reaper. My initial thought is S tier for Soul Reaper. This fucking hero is so good in Midwars, and like it just is already okay in Force of God, but just in Midwars is like where this hero can shine. I'm trying to think now. The reason why I'm not just dropping him in S tier, is there a reason why this hero is maybe not S tier worthy? Fantastic heal nuke, both a defensive and offensive tool. An ultimate that... What is the cooldown on the ultimate? Yeah, only 100 seconds at level 1, which is... It's okay. Little on the longer side, but still not too bad. No stun and no escape. That's valid. That is valid. When it comes to a core hero that's putting himself in some unfavorable positions, not having a crowd control is a little... bit of a mark on the possibility. Yeah, maybe just a very high A tier. I like it. I think that convinced me. The fact that he doesn't have a stun and escape necessarily. I mean, again, he has a heal, so in a sense he kind of does have an escape, and you usually are going to build this hero, Gnome's Wisdom, Astrolabe even, extra tanky, a Sackstone, so I think in that sense he kind of has a bit more survivability despite not having an escape. But yeah, I think a high A tier is good. Polywog Priest. Where are we going with Poly? Oh my god, it's almost 3:30. I need to pick this. I actually got to go in 10 minutes, so holy shit, we got to really pick this up here. Polywog Priest, where are we putting him? Ultimate, of course, good. Very good crowd control, kinda. 110 seconds, 190. Tongue-tied, of course, being channel, not necessarily as great usually in Mid-Wars, so there's that. Morph is solid, just a constant electric jolt nuke. Pretty good, yeah. I think A tier. If you're looking for crowd control support, he is very worthy of that. It's similar to kind of like a Witch Slayer. Where did Witch Slayer go? I put Witch Slayer B tier. But I think the biggest difference with Polywog is the wards and the fact it's better for team fights overall. Silver Bowl is more single target. Mana Drain's also kind of meh in Mid-Wars. Anyways. Gunblade. Gunblade, I would lean towards an A tier carry with my initial thought. Does have his own survivability. Has great pickup potential on just single targets. Yeah. And can definitely carry the game for you as the game goes on. So I think A tier carry is good there. Elonia. An amazing amount of spam damage from magic. I think this is an S tier hero. Yeah, we've slowed him down to the S tier heroes quite a bit, but I think we're going to get another one here. Yeah, I think nothing about her is that bad. She's maybe doesn't have great escape, but at the same time, she doesn't need, she's always playing from a distance usually, of course, and yeah, good luck getting to her, I guess. And even when you do, she, of course, has a stun, so yeah. Pebbles, Portal Key Syndrome, I think is the best way to explain him. Is there a game where I'll, again, stun is okay, it has decent reach, toss is solid, but Portal Key Syndrome, man. S tier, what? S tier? Get out of here. We're talking, just to be very clear, we're talking Mid-Wars, not Force Kaldivar. you know, I'll be fine putting a. I was honestly thinking even C tier, like for a hero that's again, because I'm kind of comparing it to like these heroes that are the in and out initiators, burst damage, kind of like a drunken Monkey King Fade esque heroes. I would probably rather have any of those heroes over Pebbles, frankly. But I'm gonna stick to my gut, honestly. I'm gonna put him a high C tier for Midwars. He needs the portal key, and any hero that needs a portal key, not usually a big fan of having a Midwars. Riftwalker, yeah, similar to Alonia. I mean, just so much good poke damage. Is similar to Flux also in that is just an amazing setup. Or I guess there's a great setup for others, but also herself and good follow-up or good just initiation too. Can bring people to her with the staff. Is she an S tier? I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I think S tier. High A. No, I'm gonna stick with S tier. Her ultimate's just too good, and like, her skill set's just too good. Pandemonium. A little more freedom here because has good initiation with the flick. It's decent range. Cannonball gives him some decent mobility. Flurry attacks, and then obviously the single target lockdown too. Again, similar to these kind of heroes like a Drunken Monk, but I actually like him more than those. I would say a high B tier for this guy. Part of me almost wants to put him low A tier, but Pearl easy S tier. Pearl's high A for me for Midwars. I'll put him in B there. High B. Prophet, again, actually doesn't bring the greatest crowd control, but does bring decent heal support, invigorates the teammates, increases their attack speed, a nice buff for his teammates there. Ultimate's going to be pretty useful usually because of the Midwars map. Yeah, we'll go with A. We're in the middle of A there. Solstice. Solstice puts herself in a pretty bad spot to be useful. Ultimate's kind of in Midwars. I mean, it's okay in Midwars, but at the same time, not really. Yeah, Solstice is just not a hero that feels great in Midwars. Ideally wants a jungle to be able to farm. Low B? I'm thinking C, man. I'm thinking C tier. We'll put Solstice middle C. Who do we got here? Soul Stealer. Yikes. I think Soul Stealer is pickable, but is just one of those cases you need to be comfortable in the hero. You need to be good with him. You need to... Soul Stealer is good. So... How do you get souls on this hero? Soul Stealer without souls is fucking atrocious. Getting souls in Midwars when you have 4 other teammates that are also trying to farm and take creep kills from you ain't gonna be easy. If you're a coordinated team and you're setting that up, okay, I give it a little bit of a bump, but I'm sorry. Most of the time, Soul Stealer is going to be a very underwhelming hero in terms of what you would expect a mid-Soul Stealer to be in Force of Kaldivar. You keep walking to the creep camp. Yeah, then you're leaving... I don't know. Any hero that requires going over to the jungle camp to try to at least be a little bit useful, I just don't. You know, I'll bump him up to C tier, fine. I'll bump him up to C tier at least. Corrupted Disciple, I think a pretty good option here. It does not bring crowd control necessarily, but again, one of these carry options that's like not afraid to get in your face for obvious reasons. The conduit's good, his passive's good. Ultimate's going to provide some good damage. He's not going to out-carry some of these other ones, these other range carriers like Forsaken, Flint, etc. But I think he's definitely A-worthy. A tier for sure. Yeah. We're almost done here, so yeah, obviously I'm picking up a little bit here because we got to go soon. I'm not missing any here, right? Clout is next. Yeah, King Clout. I like King Clout. I've grown on King Clout a lot. I really have. I've actually started playing him a little bit more in my Force Calabar matches. I haven't played him a ton in Midwars. The big thing with a big issue with him in the Midwars is the cooldown on his ultimate is a little longer than I would like. Yeah, 120 seconds, so 2 minutes. You can get a staff to reduce that. Staff is really good on this hero too for his Q. Takes some time to get that though. Decent magic damage nuker. If you build him kind of this tank, this frontliner, he can be pretty good. Spamming that Q early on is pretty good. I like him as a high B. Cloud is A. You know what? I can get behind that. I like it. I like that. I'm going to put him in a low A, actually. Vindy and Nymph. All right, we got 2 more. Vindicator, Vindy. One of the most annoying heroes to play against. There's definitely that. S tier, A tier is the question. Because, yeah. Does he fall under S tier? He doesn't have, like, hard crowd control, but silence and the totem, those are very annoying crowd control abilities. He can poke with damage. He can become a carry. Is he S tier? Alright, we'll put him S tier. Put him low S tier. I can get behind that. Last one, Nymphora. Nymphora, the last hero. As far as support options go, solid. My one gripe with Nymphora is, well, I guess a couple. One is the heal. The fact it takes a little bit of time to then burst and be useful can be kind of annoying sometimes within fights or trying to clump people up. 2 is the stun. It's not as guaranteed as a lot of these other stuns, right? Yes, if you're good with Nymphora, practice with their Lightning Seal Stone's not the most difficult thing in the world. There's that, though. The ultimate's also not that great in Midwars. Again, the same idea with all these global abilities. Can you make use of it? Yes. Does it have nearly as much power than Force Calabar map? Not really. But giving mana to others, like, yeah, I think she's similar to a Monarch in that sense, where the ultimate's a little underwhelming, but everything else is solid. She can save, so yeah, I would put her. I'd put her up there with the higher B tier range there. All right, I think that's good. We did it. We actually made it through. All these other ones are not in the game yet, but there you go. Whew! That I did not expect to do that. For God, we were doing this for almost 2 hours. I want to say, Jesus Christ. That was fun though. That was fun. Yeah. So there we go. Got our poll. We'll post this on our YouTube channel as well. Post a screenshot maybe in the socials. I don't know. It's fun to do this. Definitely, I like doing these tier lists. We'll definitely do more of these. Like I said, the next one could be fun. Speaking of these heroes that aren't in HoN Reborn yet.